All right. Hello. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to UBC Camp's Play and Learn at Home live stream. My name is Sarah, and today we are going to be learning about densities. Before we get started today, I just wanted to share a few housekeeping notes. For our live stream today, all participant video and audio should be turned off. So if you haven't done that already, please take a second to do so now. If you or your caregivers have a question at any point during our presentation, please feel free to use the chat function and one of our moderators will respond to you as soon as possible. With that being said, please make sure you use respectful, camp appropriate language at all times. Before I get going, I just wanted to take a second to go through the materials that you'll be needing today again. So just a reminder that you'll need about 4 to 6 jars or cups, whichever you have at home, some sugar, some salt, food coloring or like washable paint, some spoons or a fork for stirring, and then if you happen to have it, an eyedropper or a turkey baster. If you don't know what that is, it's like this thing right here. If you have one of those at home, that would be really great as well. The other thing is just if you do want to grab some paper towels, we will be doing some pouring. So just if there's any spills, we can quickly clean those up. Lastly, have fun and be safe. I'm really excited. This is going to be so much fun. And let's get started. So, as I said before, my name is Sarah, and I'm from an organization out of UBC called Geering Up. At Gearing Up, we are a science and engineering organization, and we love to bring our passion for STEM to youth such as yourselves. So in particular, I am a scientist. So could everybody take a moment to think about what a scientist does? What is a scientist? Maybe tell me. Yeah, so as scientists, sometimes we mix things and sometimes those things explode. Sometimes scientists are working with animals and learning more about them. The best part about scientists is we are making observations about the world around us and we are learning new things that we didn't know before. So now that we know kind of what a scientist does, what do you think an engineer does? Right, so an engineer, sometimes we see them in trains, maybe a train engineer. Maybe you know an engineer as somebody who builds bridges, maybe makes cars or planes. That's great. So engineers take all the knowledge that they learned from the scientists and they apply it to solve real world problems. And together, the scientists and engineers worked together to make the world a better place, which is really, really awesome. So I love that I get to be a part of that. And today, you are all going to get to be a part of that too. So we are going to do some fun experiments to learn about densities. And you might not know what that word means right now, but hopefully by the end of this live stream, you will know exactly what that word means, which is great. So before we get going, I just want to do a quick safety check because as scientists, we always want to make sure we are being safe. So thankfully for us today, we are working with things that we can find around the house. So we may not need to wear things such as safety goggles or a lab coat or some gloves. But an important thing to remember is even though we are working with things that you may have eaten before, when we are using those things to do science, we don't eat science. We just love to play around and explore with it. So we'll just keep that in mind during our stream today. So I'm going to take you over to my glasses that I have set up here. I'm just gonna wait for the screens to do a little switch. Hopefully, perfect. Thank you very much. I have 4 glasses set up here that have water in each of them. So if you haven't done that already, you can get some water in each of your glasses. I'll take you a second to do that. Okay, amazing. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to make our different mixtures. So I have an extra glass. You don't need to have 4. Most of you will have 3, but I just want to do an extra little experiment as well with you all to see what happens. So in our first glass, this one is going to be our control. Okay, so we can all say control together. It is our control. So our control is what we're going to be comparing all of our other experiments to, okay? So this one's gonna have water in it. And so that I remember that because they all look the same, I am going to take one of my food colorings that I have. I'm gonna use my blue one, and I'm just gonna put a couple drops into this cup here. So you can do that with me as well. Put whatever color you want into your water cup. So that way you can remember that it's water. And if you have a spoon or a fork, you can give it just a little stir. Amazing. Okay. So we have blue or whatever color you have as your water. Okay, so the next cup, this is fun. Now we get to do some mixing, which is the fun part. So in the next cup, I am going to take my sugar and I'm going to put sugar into this cup. So I already prepared my sugar into these little canister things I have. So I'm using about 2 scoops of sugar. So like about 2 tablespoons, 2 scoops, whatever you have. And I'm going to pour that into this cup here. My sugar, oh, so fun. And for this cup, I am going to use the color green. You can use another color that you have, whatever you have at home. Got some nice green going in here. Oh, I love putting the colors in. I think it looks so pretty. And then I'm gonna give it a little stir. This one you have to stir a bit more because we want the sugar to mix in really well with our water. Love this is the best part about science is you get to mix things together. It's so fun. Alrighty. So we've got a nice mixture here of sugar water. The next one that we're going to do is our salt. I have my salt water here, so this is a little bit different. Maybe I'll switch them so that you all have the same as me. So the next one we're gonna do is our salt. So my salt is not in a canister, mine is in my nice little table salt here. We're gonna do the exact same thing that we did with the sugar. So we're gonna put about 2 tablespoons of salt into our cup. And I am going to make my salt cup red because just like my shirt, I love the color red. I think it's so fun. All right, so we have a couple drops of our red food coloring. Again, your colors might be completely different than mine. That's so fine. I've heard that you can get like neon colors from the store, which is super cool. We're gonna give that a really good mix. Mix all of our salts around. Amazing. Okay, so you will probably just have these 3 glasses. I'm gonna do one more because we are going to do some thinking here and we're gonna see what happens. So the last item that I have is I actually have got some baking soda. So you might know baking soda is something that goes into your cookies or some of the other baking that your parents might do at home. So I'm gonna add some baking soda in here. Oh, what a little bubble. You see a little bubble is happening in my cup? That's so cool. Okay, and my baking soda is going to be yellow. Put lots of yellow in there. All right, so hopefully you are like me and you have 3 cups. I have an extra one, but hopefully you have 3 cups that are all stirred up and have whatever they need in them. Okay, so this part I'm going to do, and I'm going to ask you all some questions, and you're going to give me a thumbs up if you agree with me, or you're going to give me a thumbs down if you disagree with me, okay? So today I have brought with me some olives. Who here likes olives? Yes? Some of you like olives? That's good. Olives are healthy for you. I like olives. Personally, I like black olives. These are Kalamata olives. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put an olive in each one of these cups, and when I start at each cup, I want you to give me a thumbs up if you think it is going to float, okay? So we are gonna start with our water cup here. So this is my water cup. I want you to give me a big thumbs up if you think when I put this olive in, it is going to float. Okay, I see some thumbs up, some thumbs down. All right, I have put my olive in, and check it out. It dropped to the bottom of the glass. So it did not float in water, okay? I want us to remember that. Is in the plain water without anything in it, in our control, our olive sunk to the bottom, okay? So the next one is our sugar water, okay? So what do we think? Thumbs up, it's gonna float. Thumbs down, it's not gonna float, it's gonna sink. What do we think? Maybe it'll float, right? This one has more than just water in it. We've put some sugar in it, so maybe it'll float. All right, let's give it a go. Oh, I wasn't expecting that, to be honest with you. Cool. Okay, so in sugar water, our olive floats. That's amazing. Cool. Okay, so then our next one here is our salt water. Okay, what do we think? Thumbs up, it's floating. Thumbs down, it's sinking. What do we think? All right, shall we get a little drum roll? 3, 2, 1. Okay, we have another one that's floating. Amazing. So just as a reminder, we have our water, it sunk to the bottom. In our sugar water, it floats. In salt water, it also floats. Let's give our baking soda a go. So salt, to me, salt and sugar look very similar. I don't know if you've ever mixed them up. I've mixed them up before. Salt does not taste as good as sugar does. So baking soda, grab another olive. And if you think that it's going to float, and give me a thumbs down if you think it is going to sink. All right, 3, 2, 1. Amazing! The baking soda floats too. Cool. Okay, so all of those things we just did when we made those predictions, when you all put your thumbs up or thumbs down, you all were making something called a hypothesis. Can we all say hypothesis together? Hypothesis, okay? A hypothesis is an educated guess. So maybe when I was at the sugar water and I was trying to think about whether or not the salt water, I was like, no, sugar looks like salt, it'll flow in as well. So that's the educated guess come from? Oh, fun. Oh, so fun. So, why does this happen? How come olive is in water, it sinks to the bottom, but when I put my olive into salt water or sugar water or even water that has baking soda in it, why does it float to the top? They look all the same, except for the fact I put different colors in them. But why does that happen? Does anybody have any ideas? So this is actually what density is. So the reason that our olive is floating in these cups but not in our water is because the sugar water and the salt water, they're actually heavier. So the sugar water and the salt water, they weigh more, they're heavier. Whereas the water, our water itself, doesn't weigh as much as they do. And so the technical term that we use in science when we talk about the weight of a liquid is density. Okay, so density. So we know that our water is less dense, it's not heavy. Our sugar water and our okay, cool. Love that. So the next part I want to do really quick before we all start on something together is I also grabbed some rocks from my garden. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing that we did with the olives, but we are going to do them with rocks. Okay, so I'm going to do this part a little bit more quickly because I feel like you all are masters and you know exactly how this works. So start with the water, and I want you all to give me a thumbs up if you think my rock is going to float or if you think my rock is going to sink. Okay, so what do we think? Water, float, sink. I feel like you all have it. I feel like we're going for a sink now. Okay, all right, so I put my rock in. Amazing, it sunk. Love that. Okay, what about in the sugar water? So before our olive floated, do we think the little pebble I have is going to float or sink? So float, thumbs up for float, thumbs down for sink. Maybe it'll float. I think so. Why would a olive sink or an olive float but not a little pebble? Looks very similar. Let's give it a go. So as you can see, my rock sunk in the sugar water. Okay, same thing with the salt water. Are we gonna do thumbs up? We think it's gonna float. Thumbs down, it's gonna sink. Salt water. I feel like it's going to sink. What about you? I feel like you all have this, you know. Okay. Yes, okay, amazing. So our rock has last but not least the baking soda. Thumbs up for it's going to float. Thumbs down for it's going to sink. 3, 2, 1. Sink. Yes. Okay, so this is where the scientist and the engineer come together. So the scientist in me is saying, hey, well, how come those little rocks that look just like those olives are sinking to the bottom of my glasses, whereas the olives in these 3 glasses, they float? And this is because the rock is it made out of a different material, and it itself holds its own weight that is different than the olive. So these are things that we notice through doing experiments and we pass to the engineers. And this is why it is so important that we make observations. So for example, way back in the day when we invented boats, we had to think about things like this because we don't want our boat to sink to the bottom in the salt water because the ocean is salt water. We don't want our boats to sink to the bottom. We want our boats to float just like our olive did. So this is when we start to think about the structure and we start to design for that. Okay, cool. Let's have some fun. Let's mix things that we can all do together. So I'm gonna quickly just take my little olives out of my cups. And I want you all to think about what would happen if we mixed these different waters together. What do you think would happen if I mixed them? So we're gonna make some hypotheses and we are going to test out mixing some of these different waters. So I want you all to pick 2 waters that you want to do first. 2 waters. So one thing that I know is that I know that my control water, my blue water, this one that has nothing in it, this one is the lightest. Okay, we know that because we tested it. We just did an experiment and we found out that it was lighter than these ones are. Okay, so I'm going to get another glass that I have. So this is why we asked that you had 4 glasses at least. So I have another jar here and I am going to pick 2 of these to mix together. So I think that I am going to mix together our salt water, which is my red one, and I'm going to mix that with our blue water here, okay? This is the first experiment that we're gonna do. So I'm gonna make a hypothesis. I think that when you mix red and blue together, you get purple. So we're gonna end up with purple water. I think that's what's gonna happen. All right, you can all do this along with me, whether that's using your turkey baster, or also if you pour really gently, that will work too, but we are going to test this out. So first I am going to put my salt water into my new cup. Okay, you can all see that, yes. Okay, so I've got my turkey baster and I'm soaking up some of my red water. This is super funny. All right, I'm gonna get a little bit more. Oh. Okay. Okay, so I've got my red water, my salt water, need a little bit more. Maybe it would just be easier to pour. All right, so we have got some salt water. We're just gonna pour it in. Okay, so I've got some salt water. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to get some of my control water. So this is my regular water. And I am going to slowly add this into my glass. Okay, and I want you all to take a look. And I want you to notice what's happening. Okay. Oh my gosh, it works! Yay! Okay, so take a look. Let's make an observation. I want you all to see that. So if you can see, I almost have created 2 layers in my glass. So I almost have this red at the bottom, and then there's kind of this area where it's a little bit purple, and then I have a layer of blue water. Isn't that so cool? Can you all see that? Why does that happen? Why isn't it just purple? When I mix, I know that when I mix red and blue together, I usually get purple, but in this case, we are seeing the red and the blue in different layers. Does anybody have any ideas why that is? Yeah, so that is because of density. So the reason that they don't actually mix together and form purple is because the water that we have at the bottom is actually heavier than the water that we have at the top, right? So the water we have at the bottom, the salt water, our salt water is more dense than our fresh water, and that is why they're going to layer like this. That's so cool. Isn't that so cool? Okay, we're gonna try and add another one in here. We're gonna see how this goes. I don't know if it's gonna work. We're gonna try it. Okay, so we have salt water, we have fresh water, and now we're gonna add some sugar water, okay? So one thing we know about sugar water is that it is more dense than our fresh water, right? We learned that before with the olives, right? We know that our sugar water is heavier than fresh water. So I'm really curious as to what will happen when we add it in, okay? So make your hypothesis. What do you think is gonna happen? Do you think the green layer, the green is gonna switch with the blue? Not quite sure. All right, so let's give it a go. Okay, so I have my glass. Again, you can just pour this in if you'd like. And I'm gonna slowly add it into my cup. Oh. All right, let's take a look. Let's see what's happening. Oh my gosh, it's super pretty. But let's take a look. Okay, do you all see what's happening here? It's pretty cool. So it kind of looks like my green water and my blue water are trying to switch places. That's so fun. Isn't that so cool? So because the green sugar water is more dense than the fresh water, it is trying to switch places. That is so cool. That is so cool. So the other thing that we get to learn from this is that check out the green and the red. So do you think that the green, the sugar water, is more dense or less dense than salt water? So our options are sugar water and salt water. So green and red. Which one do you think is more dense? So I want you to give me a thumbs up if you think that the sugar water is more dense. And I want you to give me a thumbs down if you think that the sugar water is less dense. Okay, so some of you are right. So our sugar water is less dense than salt water. So that is why the salt water still wins at the bottom of the glass. So this is super fun because you can try so many different combinations. We can keep going. Should we keep going? Maybe one more. I think we have time for one more. Let's see what happens when we add baking soda in here, okay? But that's one of my favorite things about being a scientist is that we can just try different things and see how they work. I think that's so fun that I get to just sit here and I get to mix different things together and see what happens. I don't know about you, but I think that's the funnest thing ever. I'm gonna give my baking soda a little mix. I'm gonna quickly take some of this. I know we're running out of time. I apologize. I just wanna check out and see how cool this is and if it works. Okay, so this is my mixing glass. I'm gonna slowly put my baking soda water in. All right, my baking soda water was a little bit of a fail and kind of blended all the colors together. Oh, maybe it's starting to layer a bit. Oh my gosh, it's just so pretty. Cool. It's trying to make its way in there, but it's not doing a very good job. So that one kind of messed with my cup a little bit, but mixed all of, you can see it all mixed together. My layers have kind of disappeared, but that's okay. That's just something that I learned. The baking soda, I don't think it dissolved very well into the water. And so I think it didn't do the same layering that my other ones did. So even after we're done this live stream today, if you still have some of your sugar water and your salt water left over, and you want to try out different mixtures with your parents, I think that's a great idea. Let me know, what works, what didn't work, what your kind of layers ended up being. It's super fun. Being a scientist is so much fun. So yeah, just to kind of recap what we just learned is that water has weight to it. Sorry, my apologies. Water has weight to it, which is crazy. And with different materials, we can change that weight. We can change their density. Okay, so when we're talking about the weight of a fluid, we talk about how dense that fluid is. So we learned today that fresh water is less dense than salt water, right? Fresh water is less dense than salt water. We learned that salt water is more dense than sugar water, right? Through our different layers. So cool, so fun. And we get to use this knowledge that we've discovered today in order to solve some really cool problems in the world. Like, how could we travel on salt water? How can we travel in the ocean? So those are some really cool things that scientists observe, and they pass along to engineers, and then they design things so that we can travel on water. I think that's the coolest thing ever. So that's it for today, everybody. Join UBC Camps again tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. For children ages 9 to 12. They're going to be doing an intro to sailing for kids, which is just the coolest thing ever. I might have to join myself. This session also has been recorded and will be posted on UBC Camps YouTube channel. Feel free to share your experience online by tagging at UBC Camps on Instagram and UBC Camps on Facebook. Also, feel free to use the hashtag UBCPlayLearn. Also, if you had a lot of fun doing some science and engineering with me today and are interested in doing more experiments, feel free to check out Geering Up's website and our YouTube channel as well. We always love seeing new people. So I hope you all have a great day. Thank you so much for joining me, and goodbye, everybody.